This is my grandma pizza result when I stretched the dough multiple times and only having been in the pan an hour before cooking. But what will happen if I let the dough stretch out naturally for longer and only stretch it twice?
You see how it retracts? You like pull it apart and then it just retracts. The dough is still cold.
Instead of 1 hour, I'm gonna let it naturally relax and stretch over several hours. Let's see how it goes. I've only pressed this thing out once, like use my fingers to just gently push some dough around. Now it's almost 5 o'clock. I did that about 2:30. That is way longer than I've ever let this sit. Usually I take the dough out with like 3 hours to go. You start to stretch it and then you let it sit in the pan and it kind of warms up, and then you can stretch the dough a little bit easier, a little bit better each time. You know, this channel is called Robbie Learns Pizza, and I'm intentionally trying something different here, letting this dough sit out for hours. And it's probably still gonna be another hour at least, maybe an hour and a half before I get this thing in the oven. So my wife will be home and we can have pizza. Hopefully it's not terrible. But what I'm seeing here that's interesting to me is how much this thing has expanded over the pan. It started off probably, in this area. In the past hour and some, it's really stretched out. And you can almost see that like part of it is maybe getting to where it's even almost overproofing. But I wonder if I'm riding that line of like, have those air pockets and maybe that amazing light and airy crumb structure inside. Like, I hope I'm like stumbling onto that. I made my sauce a little bit earlier today. San Marzano tomatoes, oregano, red pepper flakes, and just a tiny little bit of sugar in there because I do like a little bit of a sweeter sauce. Yeah, it's just Hormel, but I do like the cup and crisp. These are just what's common at my local grocery store. I do want to try some different brands there. Here's my fresh basil. I love the smell of this fresh basil coming out of this package. And then in here, something a little bit special going on. Obviously my cheese, but this is now a cheese blend. I shred up some mozzarella, white cheddar, and provolone for my cheese blend.
White cheddar, provolone, mozzarella. This is the satisfying part. Just mixing it all together. Oh yeah.
So this blend right here is 2/3 mozzarella and it's 1/3 of provolone and white cheddar. That provolone and white cheddar really adds that salty bite to the cheese that personally me and my wife love. And then to also help out with that salty bite inside of here, I've got some shredded up Locatelli Pecorino Romano. Here's the rest of the block of the provolone that I was using, and there's the Locatelli. I've been using this biggest slice right here for the mozzarella, and then this one on the side for the Pecorino Romano. At this point, the dough has been warming up and relaxing in the pan for several hours. I've only pressed the dough out once, forming those air pockets and stretching it to the edges of the pan. I'm intentionally trying to be super careful and pressing the dough with my fingers only. I take the corners of the pizza and as gently as possible, stretch them to the edges of the pan. Once the dough is fully covering the pan, I top the pizza with my cheese blend and sauce. One of my favorite parts of the grandma pizza is the cheese edge to edge. The crust that develops is insane, and the crunch it gives is so crazy good. For this pizza, I'm using my dough cutter with a ruler on its edge to help guide me where to put the sauce down. So when I cut the pizza, each slice has a big dollop of sauce. I'm playing around with some different ways of saucing it just to see what I like best. Pepperonis go down because I love me some cup and crisps. A little more. A little more. And that's good. I put this grandma pizza in a 500-degree oven for 12 minutes and it's done. I've experimented with par baking the crust first, and that can give an awesome browned undercarriage as well. When I put more provolone cheese or more sauce, the par bake is good method because the cheese is always a bit stretchier, less browned because I don't need to bake the pizza as long. Once the pizza is out of the oven, it's important to get it out of the pan to stop from cooking and the bottom from going soggy. I transfer it to my wire rack for half a minute or so to allow the airflow to the bottom before cutting. On this pizza, I topped it with garlic and always top ours with fresh basil. The grandma pizza has quickly become my favorite pizza to make at home with its beautiful caramelized, crispy, cheesy frico edge, browned undercarriage, and awesome cheese blend. And you know what? Leaving the dough out on the counter did result in a very bubbly and fluffy inside crumb, plus that beautifully browned undercarriage. So it still does taste similar to what I had before, I'm not gonna lie. But it does look a little bit better, and it's definitely a bit more risen, obviously. We let it sit there for a while. Pretty good pizza.
Oh my God, that was kind of rough.
Check it out, Dad.
Wow.
And to close this episode out, this is a
I
clip
could
from the
tell that
first
does.
time I made my dad grandma
It
pizza.
don't look like
Nice crispy
that's
bottom.
amazing, man. Wow.
Check out the edge.
Yeah,
Check out
was
that full
fantastic,
video at
man.
my channel if you haven't seen it yet. I was so proud to be able to serve my dad this pizza, something that I'm proud to make and something that I was ecstatic about that he loved. The way I know my dad told me exactly what he thinks is by his face here. He didn't know he was being videoed in this moment. And I know when he enjoys something he's eating because he makes this
Oh, this
face.
is the best pizza I've ever had.
And I was nowhere near around for him to see that reaction.
That crust is amazing.
Isn't that good, Dad?
Wow.
That good?
Yeah. You could open a pizza shop.
Wow, thank you, Dad.
That's really good. That's crust.